Divine greetings, ones and zeros, zeros and ones, boys and girls that are now men and women, kings and queens, gods and goddesses, spiritual beings of this divine matrix. Welcome. My name is Clay. Today I want to share with you about me laughing at the hurricane victims of Melissa and how I was feeling guilty. So last night I was watching some shorts and some YouTube shorts, watching some updates on the victims of Hurricane Melissa, watching how the people are handling it, as I'm handling it, as the government is handling it, just watching the whole scenario, taking it in, seeing the impressions that are being made upon me and on the people. So I went to rest, I went to sleep like this. When I woke up in the morning, I heard a voice say, Christ never laughed. When I heard that voice, and to disclose, keep in mind that I've been diagnosed with schizophrenia in the past, in 2020, right at the onset of the pandemic. I was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and that story is on my page as well. So when I heard the voice, I had to check myself to ensure that it is my own voice, or that I understand the voice. So in checking my own self and hearing the voice, I went into recalling what it is that I know of the Bible, what we call, or what some Rastas call the Bible, the scriptures. In checking what I know of the Bible, because I've read it a few times, though I'm not a Christian, I do trust in truth, and truth can be found in the Bible. So in reading the Bible, I remembered that Christ never laughed. One of the things that I noticed is that the one who they call Yeshua, and I'm specific about saying the one who they call Yeshua, because the one who they call Yeshua never himself said that my name is Yeshua. Never himself said my name is Yahweh, or I'm the one who saves, because that's what Yeshua means, according to the Jewish tradition. So in going back to me hearing the voice, and in going forward to saying or revealing that I saw that Christ never laughed, I'm saying or feeling guilt within myself about laughing at the hurricane victims, because, as I said, the one who they call Yeshua never laughed, and I respect the truth of the one who they call Yeshua in the Bible, in the Bible. I respect the truth. The truth is the truth. Wherever it is, it is. So then I started comparing myself to Yeshua, to Christ, to Jesus. So as I'm comparing myself, I felt vindicated to say, no, what I'm feeling for the hurricane victims is compassion. And I'll give a story about one of my children. I have 4 daughters, and I've observed, children, and in observation of children, I see how much we are children as adults. We have inner child within us. So one of the things that happened with my daughter is that one day she was doing something. She was playing with something that she shouldn't be playing with. And as she was playing with that thing, it was, I believe it was dinner time. And she wasn't eating her food. She was playing with her toys. And as she was playing with the toy, I called her to the table. And as I called her to the table, she had the toy in her hand, but she put it in her shorts. She didn't know that I saw her put it in her shorts. So I asked her, what did you do with the toy? And she said, she put it away. So I said, are you sure you put it away? She said, yes, I'm sure I put it away. And all this time I know that she has it in her shorts. So then I said, so I started laughing because I see that she made a mistake. I see that she's protecting the truth that she wants to play with the toy and she got caught playing with the toy. So she doesn't want to um, acknowledge that she's been exposed for playing with the toy at a time when she shouldn't be playing with the toy, right? So I'm laughing because I see exactly what is happening. And in that moment, I'm not feeling guilty because she's the one who knows what she should be doing and she didn't do it. So now she's exposed for what she's doing, right? And she's in misery saying and lying, saying that she doesn't have the toy. Okay, needless to say, I said, you have the toy in your shorts. And even then, she said no. And I had to move her shorts and then show her that I see the toy in your shorts. And it was at that point she took it out. And in that moment, she took it out and she was laughing because I was laughing. Now, I share this story to show how when people do stupid things, right? It's laughable. And not because someone does something that hurts them, right? Because she was, in her interpretation, she was being hurt because she was being exposed, right? And her ego was feeling the shame, she was feeling the hurt, she was feeling guilty, right? She was feeling emotional hurt. And this is no different except in physicality than when a person, for example, goes through the hurricane. And I know it seems as if it's a drastic thing to compare the hurricane to that. However, stick with me for a moment. And if you can, you'll understand. So the hurricane victims, for example, the houses that are made, right? They're made from material that is poor material. They're doing their quote unquote best, but the reality is the reality. When you live in a country like Jamaica, the reality is that you're going to experience hurricanes every season, or there's a hurricane season. So it's likely that you're going to experience a hurricane. Now, not only that, I've since found online that a major hurricane comes every 37 years. I was in the last major hurricane, which was Gilbert. I believe I was maybe 7 years old. So that was the last major hurricane. And that was 37 years ago. So the government, the governing body, would have known, should have known, they do know that there's a major hurricane in Jamaica every 37 years. Now, the government of Jamaica should also put in place that you cannot build certain structures. So that means that they would have to provide for the people the way they need to build. And if you build otherwise, then when destruction comes, when the reward, when the exposure comes, then don't be sad. When exposure comes, you're going to be sad. And you're going to have to humble yourself to the reality that you built a house on sand, right? Now, I'm saying this to also show that it's kind of ridiculous that in the scriptures, maybe I shouldn't say ridiculous. I don't think I know it's not a truthful representation of the one who they call Christ, because Christ, as documented, never laughed. In the scriptures, it says that God laughed. At least I saw that on Google. I Googled it, and Christ laughed at least, not Christ. God, the Father of Christ, laughed at least 4 times. And in his laughing, he's laughing at the wicked. He's laughing at the ones who fail to obey the law, the ones who didn't do the right thing, right? And not only did the scripture say that God laughed and mocked them in their terror, right? Because the truth is, you were told, you know better, right? And now I go to the my schizophrenic break. In my schizophrenic break, I had a mental break, the diagnosis as schizophrenia, where I was hearing voices, I was seeing things, I was doing crazy things. I ran away and all those things, saying that I was the Messiah, I was saying that I was the new Messiah, all sorts of things. But, anyways, in that mental break, one of the things that happened is that I fled the country. I went to Jamaica. I fled America, went to Jamaica. In coming back to America, I wanted to come back to my partner because I fled my family. I abandoned my family. I came back to my partner. Needless to say, she would not accept me in the home. And at this time, she didn't know exactly what was happening. She just knew that I abandoned them. She didn't know that I was having a mental break. And at that time, I hadn't been diagnosed. It was in speaking to her, and she said that I couldn't come back in the home. It was speaking to her that I realized that something was wrong in my mental. And as I realized that something was wrong in my mental, and as she said, I couldn't come back into our home. This is, mind you, this is our home. So I have a right to be there. Due to my being true to my character, I heard her and I listened to what she said. And I had to humble myself. Now I had the choice of going somewhere else, or as she said, well, she didn't even say go to the hospital. I said she should call the police because I realized I was being erratic. And she did call the police, and subsequently I was taken to the hospital. Now, in being in the hospital, I could have released myself out of the hospital and then insist that I go back to the home. Even after she said, you can't come to the home. However, true to my character, I humbled myself and I stayed in the hospital. Now, that wasn't that easy thing to do. And in being in the hospital, I realized how stupid I had been because I was warned by my partner that if I keep lying to myself, I'm going to reap the repercussions of those lies. And schizophrenia is the result of lying to yourself. In lying to yourself, you develop mental, or you facilitate the traumas that you have, and those traumas break your mind, right? So I have the experience of being broken completely, wherein I don't know myself. I'm relying on people for food. I'm relying on people for shelter. I'm relying on people just to help me to walk, because one of the things in the schizophrenic break is that I even forgot how to walk. I even forgot how to do simple things, how to bathe myself. So anyways, I was humbled. I had to humble myself. I had to recognize that I had made a mistake, right? Now I can laugh at myself for the mistakes that I have made. In making those mistakes, right, I recognize that this is a part of the process as to why I came to earth, right? Why I came to earth, to have the experience of membering myself to divinity, of remembering myself to divinity. Some would say remembering, right? So being a member in divinity is a testimony to being enlightened. The more you remember about your divinity, the more you remember and embody that divinity, the more you are enlightened to be divine. So I'm sharing this message because I recognize that, in my opinion, it is ridiculous that the ones who recorded the Bible, that they did not record or record. They didn't record that the one who they call Yeshua did not laugh. They said he had joy. However, they did not say he laughed. And you can have joy and not laugh. However, they did record that God, Yeshua's father, did laugh. Now, the Father is in the Son and the Son is in the Father. So I know that as the Father is in me, you, me, we as spiritual beings have the capacity in our expression, in our throat chakra, to express ourselves through laughter, because it is expressing the full gamut of human emotions. Now, to go through the emotions, there are two emotions that exist. There is the fear emotion, which fear is false evidence appearing real. That is an illusion. And then there is the love emotion, which is the real and true emotion. Those emotions are seated or rooted in the root chakra, which is in the genitals. And then there is the, above that is the sacral chakra. That has to deal with the emotions of guilt and pleasure. Then there is the solar plexus chakra. That has to do with the emotions of, or the energy of will and shame, where you put your will according to your ego. And if you put it in fear, then once that fear is exposed, you will experience shame. Then there's the heart chakra. In the heart chakra, there's grief and understanding. As you do what you do, you will experience grief. If you are made aware of it, if you allow yourself to become aware of it, that is your 4-year-old. And also that is where you have understanding. So as you understand yourself in the throat chakra, you have your expression. You express lies or you express truth. And that is the blue chakra. On my thumbnail, there is the arrangement of the 7 chakras. To go to the third eye chakra, which some call the eye of Horus, I call it the eye of Heru, because of the affiliation with Kemet as opposed to Egypt. And in this third eye chakra, there is the either clarity or illusion. In your crown chakra, there is egoic attachment or acceptance. So, and that is how my partner has helped me to be in tune with my spirit through the chakra system, or through one of the tools, through the chakra system, which in Kemet is called the second Raz. And I'm sharing this message to show and rewire my own mental as I expose myself to the collective, that it is okay to laugh at people's foolishness. When someone is being foolish, it is okay to laugh at them, right? You don't have to. However, if you find yourself laughing and it is a true emotion, then accept yourself for being who you are. Because if you do not accept yourself for who you are, then you fall susceptible to their foolishness and you feel guilty. And when you do that, you have to check your own sacral chakra to see what it is that you've created, because you're feeling guilty. What is making you feel guilty for laughing at foolishness? And that concludes my share. I say amen Ashe, Namaste. Each one, reach one, teach one.